Welcome back to In with the New and XFL podcast. Me and Jordan here, all about it.
What up, y'all?
We were gone last week, but a lot has happened in the XFL in these past 2 weeks.
No doubt.
Week 4 and week 5 had just jumped off the map. I think for me, it's basically what's going on right now. Like
No one knows.
We had the first couple of weeks where we're like, okay, these are the top teams, these are the mediocre teams, these are the really bad teams. And now it's like flip-flopped, right? The bad teams are beating the good teams. We've got the whole shake-up in the XFL, and it's kind of a little like, what the heck is going on?
Yeah, it's all confusing. I mean, there is one consistent team with the Roughnecks.
Of course.
But other than that, and even the teams that struggle, like the Vipers and Dragons, they've been holding up pretty well against these like solid teams.
Which I think is great for fans, right? We're
doubt.
starting to see this strong play. You know, we see that any team is beatable, right?
Yeah, no doubt. It's definitely a good thing. And we remember, I mean, it was like, could the XFL survive despite possible inconsistency in terms of competition?
Yeah.
And yet here we are. We have no idea where any game's going in terms of direction. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely a positive. But if it gets to the point where it's almost too unpredictable and too scattered, it might have the feel like, can we attach to any team?
Because even with the Houston Roughnecks there, it was like, I was thinking at the end there, thinking, are they going to be able to pull this out?
Yeah,
it looked like,
close.
the Dragons jumped out to like, what, 17-0 lead over them right away.
I think it's the same thing with the Vipers and Wildcats. The Vipers were up 17-zip against LA.
Yeah. That was the score. That was 17-zip. I think it
was 14-zip.
Something like that. Yeah, it was a quick jump out for them. A quick strip sack
No doubt.
from PJ. So let's go with the headlines of Week 5 in the XFL. The headlines for me, of course, we talked about it pre-show, Jordan and I. It's the QB shakeup, right?
Yeah.
We're starting to see these, quarterbacks that are just, it's starting to just rotate in there. A little bit of a merry-go-round right now with the quarterbacks. Of course, DC benches Cardell Jones after the opening drive. He throws that interception, and boom, all of a sudden Tyree Jackson gets thrown in there, and he ends up winning the game for them.
I mean, how awful has Cardell Jones been?
He drops 2 straight games to teams that weren't very good.
It's not that
we thought.
It's not that he dropped them. He was miserable in them.
And then that throw that just started the game, he's like, okay, let's go, Cardell, right here, buddy.
Yeah.
You started out, you were the man, the myth, the legend. You were undefeated. You've never lost a game in your collegiate and professional career. And then what the heck happened?
I don't know.
Like he just rolled out and stinking tried to bomb that down the field, but it was horribly underthrown and a little bit of a mind blown for me.
Yeah, and that was obviously in Week 4 when that happened. They decided to bench him, and then heading into Week 5, they didn't even start Cardell.
Yeah,
they officially put him on the bench. Started Jackson, correct?
Yeah.
His name? Yes. And to me, at least when I look back at that Week 4 matchup against the who were they playing?
Battlehawks. Was it?
Battlehawks. Yeah, you're exactly. That game, it wasn't like Jackson did anything spectacular.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't a single receiver that was even close to like 50 yards in terms of reception, passing, or whatever, receiving yards. Sorry, that's what I meant. And it was just the running game in that game that kind of carried.
The running game really did kind of shoot them through that
doubt.
little, be able to carry that game for them and really took the load off of Jackson.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So, but yeah, you're exactly right. Cardell benched, which really, I mean, it needed to happen 100%. I think
surprising. Yeah,
it is, but it's very surprising, especially considering the first 2 weeks he was like the top quarterback in the XFL.
Him and PJ Walker battling out. You're like, who's gonna win the MVP?
Exactly.
Now it's like maybe even PJ just walk away with that trophy at the end there.
But obviously the defenders aren't the only team.
No.
We talked about the Guardians. Let me just say this right off the bat to the folks at home. Micah is a wizard, all right? I don't know what he gets, this information from. He has some insider information. But the fact that the Guardians have now stuck with Luis Perez after that week last week against the Wildcats, his old team in LA, he was able to get the did they win that game? He did.
Yeah.
He totally won that game. And he comes into the next game and he starts that game too. They didn't even call on anyone else. Matt McGloin, the whole Matt McGloin drama, it seems like it's out the door.
I mean, thanks for the props there, Jordan. But for me, it was like, I even said it. I said back in week 3, I said when they go into that game, it's going to be a little bit of a, Luis Perez is going to come with a chip on his shoulder if he gets that, his number gets called and he goes and get that starting huddle. And for Perez being able to just get out there, go to LA, or no, it was in New York. They're in New York, and him able to dice up the Wildcats like that, coming off that big victory. It seemed like they had the momentum, the steam was rolling, and then of course this last week, them being able to just secure that victory as well. Where you see that 80-yard bomb he threw to that receiver.
Yeah, against Dallas.
Yeah. It was just a beautiful play by him, and he's just a very accurate quarterback. That's what I'm mesmerized by him the most is like, okay, he's not super flashy with all of his the sidearm throws like you get from PJ Walker or the crazy juke speed stuff.
Yeah.
But he is just, you say put the ball right there, he's putting the ball right there.
It's consistency.
And it's really cool to be able to see that from him and just the amount of skill he has, which I thought he had when I watched him in the AAF a couple years ago or last year. And he might get a call too. Like, he's just very accurate, and he'll kind of slide under the radar a lot of times. D2 kid, we talked about the whole thing.
Yeah, the whole story is just phenomenal. Perez.
But his story and his competitiveness and just his ability to just drop stuff in on a dime is really fun to watch.
I think you're so right about the fact that he's not a flashy quarterback. But what he's really good at is playing well enough to win ball games.
Yeah.
So since he's been the starter, 2 wins for the Guardians, which it seemed like at that one point when they lost 3 straight, they were just out of it completely, and now here they are.
Yeah, and you see all of a sudden their quarterback starts playing well, then their defense starts playing well again.
Sure.
You see these amazing plays by the D-line, the slap it down. Who was that? That was the Guardians' Ryan Mueller.
Yeah.
He bat that ball down and be able to take that in for 6. Just such an athletic play. And when you start getting good play on offense, then the defense feeds off of it, and the whole thing starts rolling for the Guardians, and it's good to see them
100%.
find that success.
Yeah, you're definitely right about that. Some other changes.
Next QB shakeup is, of course, Seattle. They decided to go with Daniels.
Which was a little surprising to me.
Yeah.
Because even though Brandon Silvers wasn't fantastic by any stretch of the imagination in the first 4 weeks, it seemed like that they were going to stick with him.
Yeah.
And we talked about it in the show previously. It seemed kind of, strange to, bench him after he had the first 3-4 starts. But they aren't winning football games, so they decided to bring in Daniels, and he kind of mimics that same format that we've been talking about in terms of modern-day quarterbacks. Agile quarterback, uses his legs. Against the Roughnecks, he had 2 rushing touchdowns.
2 rushing touchdowns. They had that QB sweep type play.
Yeah.
Right there on the goal line. They're loving that play for him, and I think from him it was just good to see him be more of the game manager in my eyes of being able to do stuff with his feet, being able to extend plays. Of course with his arm and being able to get dial in those passes. But I think what also is exciting for them is just the fact that they played the Roughnecks so well, right?
Sure.
And you go in there, and the Roughnecks are a hard team to beat right now. They got all the momentum. They've got the great players, PJ Walker, and you go in there like it almost feels like impossible, right? They're undefeated. And then they really should have come out with a victory in that game. The whole ref scandal at the end there, you're like, oh, maybe they could have pulled one out at the end. But
it's tough to say. I mean, it was the second left.
The second left would have been tough. It was
a 9-point game.
Magical play.
Yeah.
There were 2 things would have had to gone very right for them.
Yeah.
But them being able to just stick with that team and find that confidence, I think is really cool to watch for them.
The only hard part about it for Seattle now, though, is that they're 1-4.
Yeah.
So it's going to be hard to catch up into the standings. And it just kind of is a bummer for them because I feel like every single game they play, they always lose, tight games.
Mm-hmm.
They've lost every single time. I mean, the week before, when they played, they played the Battlehawks, and it was I don't know if it was a 1-score game, but it was a very close game, and Seattle wasn't able to come away with it. So they're having a tough time closing out games despite leads that they might have gotten. They had a 14-point lead in that game against Houston, and they weren't able to hold on. So Seattle, I think it's. We'll see what happens with Daniels. I think it's an interesting move, and I think something needed to be done because they just weren't winning enough games.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, as you said, the offense seemed like it worked well around his style of play. So, and I'm sure they'll just continue to build on to that as the season progresses for sure. And then, of course, Dallas, they have their quarterback change. They went ahead and they
Philip Nelson got the start for Dallas Renegades.
The reason why Landry Jones in the matchup against the Roughnecks last week had another knee injury. Supposedly he's out for 2 weeks, so I guess I'm assuming he's not going to be starting next week either. But Nelson got that week 1 start.
Wonder how much. What do you think though on this? So you get the whole Aaron Murray thing. Week 1 he got the foot injury.
Yeah.
He played bad. Okay, he got a foot injury. Kind of saved his butt a little bit. And then you got this whole thing. It's like, okay, Phil Nelson. Landry Jones threw like 5 interceptions the last game or whatever.
He's been throwing interceptions every game.
And then Philip Nelson, he's injured. So is that so much? Do you think it's to cover their backs a little bit, or is that you think these injuries are legit? I don't know.
No, I mean when I saw the play where he got hurt, I was like, okay, yeah, he's gonna be out for a while because I already knew he had previous knee injuries.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I mean, Landry Jones, he came on. Sure, I don't think he was necessarily game fit.
Yeah.
Just by the way he played, by the way he walked around the sidelines, he just didn't look like he was really that fully engaged. So yeah, possibly the injury could be some sort of excuse for the multitude of interceptions he's thrown this season. But at the end of the day, I mean, the Renegades' issue is fully in terms of them not being able to find a consistent quarterback.
Yeah. Just turnovers.
Turnovers is just a massive issue for them. And Nelson, look, I kind of feel bad for him. He's kind of thrown into this situation, and especially this last game against the Guardians, he was forced to throw the ball so many times.
Yeah.
And it didn't work out in his favor. And I don't think there was any way that the Renegades were going to win that football game in general. I don't think Dallas played well at all.
Yeah, you throw 3-4 picks, and that again, that's just the over and over and over the tale of the story of the Renegades is the turnover battle with these quarterbacks not being able to hang on to the ball and continue these drives and stretch them out further. And it's just like you gotta be scratching your head as Bob Stoops just being like, "Come on, we're right here. We're a good team. Like we just got to take care of the football. That's the name of the game."
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's that's basically the most of the QB shakeup that we've seen.
I wanna shout out someone, and I'll do it in the game recaps too. And it's just kind of maybe a preview, but something that we haven't seen that's been surprising is the Vipers have a consistent quarterback in Cornelius.
Cornelius, we dogged him the first couple episodes.
Made fun of him.
It was Cornelius, and the whole
Cornelius,
thing, the whole thing. But he actually kind of played with a little bit of confidence and he's throwing that ball into tight windows, and it was cool to see him start completing those passes.
I mean, the last 2 weeks, the Vipers' offense has been great,
and
I don't know where that transition happened. I don't know, what. Like, I just don't know how.
I think it's you're starting to see these bad teams play well.
Yeah,
and I think it's just like timing, right? What would we say? 2 months they got practicing together, and like before the draft or after it. And just it's tough to produce a very well product of football when you only have like 2 or 3 months barely to even get a product rolling, right? These are guys meeting each other for the very first time. They got to learn all these new schemes, all the checks, all the coverage, all the plays, everything in that amount of time. And chemistry's got to be built. Quarterback, especially for offense, chemistry is huge. Even defense too, with like communication between the secondary and the backers and the D line. But for the offense, like just chemistry with ball touch. Like, okay, this is a different human's hand going back and throwing a ball, and like the spin could be different, or who knows. And like, okay, how fast is that guy? What's his gait like? And they're dropping those balls into different. That's why I was so impressed with Luis Perez being able to just drop those balls into dimes, because he's not played with these guys, and he comes in. He's probably not getting a ton of reps at practice, right? Because he started the third string at the beginning of the season. There's another crazy story for him and his testimony of life.
Yeah, seriously,
but
XFL third stringer.
Seriously, coming in and just dropping dimes,
Yeah.
but he's thrown to a spot really. But for a lot of those receivers, that chemistry has got to be built, and that's why I think these teams like Cornelius is like they're getting more and more weeks stacked on, more reps and chemistry, staying after practice longer, and you're starting to see these guys really click.
I just find it funny that out of all the teams we just mentioned who have had quarterback shakeups, the Vipers aren't on there.
Yeah.
When it seemed like 2 weeks ago that they had no feasible option to start, and all of a sudden Cornelius started playing well. So
Plays well.
I got to give him credit for that. Do you want to talk about?
Yeah, so I'm going to jump right into the next headline. For me, defensive guy, you're starting to see what's better than a big man with a football in his hand, right? You get these D linemen dropping into coverage. I don't know
It's rare.
What the heck what was that play? The defensive lineman showed up all over, right? The first in the first game, the LA Wildcats, Reggie Howard, man, he dropped back like a stand-up linebacker. He just dropped back right into that little zone coverage underneath that little hole. Boom, picks that thing off. Perfect hands. He doesn't even bobble the ball. He just Odell Beckham that thing right in the
Yeah.
air and just takes off for the sideline. He's holding the ball in one hand, just getting this whole like
Classic.
doing Deion Sanders type moves, and big man with the ball in his hand is super fun to watch.
No doubt about it. I love defensive schemes where you see D linemen, even those big defensive tackles, drop back into coverage. It reminds me of when I'm a Packer fan, so obviously.
Jay, are you on Harrison? James Harrison?
No.
Oh, okay.
That was amazing.
Super Bowl against
43
against
awesome.
the Cardinals.
The 100-yard pick six.
Yeah.
But what I was thinking was NFC Championship game, big BJ Raji, but maybe like 400 pounds, get to pick six against the Bears in the 2010 NFC Championship game. Highlight of my life. That was awesome.
Yeah. No,
so it kind of reminded me of that.
I thought when I see it, I'm always like James Harrison.
Get
the James Harrison Super Bowl against the Cardinals, the
Awesome
100-yard return. He's just laying in the end zone like.
I don't blame him. 100 yards, and they were in like Miami too. I'm sure it was humid as heck over there.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So I mean, and then the Wildcats, more big men stepped up. The strip sack, and then all of a sudden, Boogie Roberts, doing his little boogie, and he picks up that that fumble, scoop and score right there. Big man with the ball in his hand, scoring a touchdown. That's super fun to watch.
No doubt.
And moving over to the next game was the Guardians. Ryan Mueller, he bat the ball the heck out of the air.
Yeah, you mentioned that one.
He just little Dallas quarterback. What's his name?
Nelson.
Yeah, Nelson gets the just like you said earlier. He's had to throw a million times during this game, and he has a lower release. His release is like right here.
Yeah,
and a little lower angle. Kind of reminded me of like Phillip Rivers type angle arm.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Not he doesn't push the ball so much, but it's a lower release, and Mueller being able to get up there and stinking bat that ball down and then have the athleticism and the hands to be able to catch it. And then he's stinking stiff arms Nelson right off of him. He's just, get off me, Nelson,
Classic.
and just runs right in the end zone. Like there's nothing better than being able to pick off the quarterback right there and then stiff arm right in the face and go score a touchdown.
So we got two of those this week.
Yeah.
None better. And sometimes it feels like these big D linemen have better hands than these cornerbacks.
Seriously.
I don't understand what's happening there. I can't tell you how many cornerback.
Got the great supple hands. I mean, it's nice.
Good stuff.
Nelson, or I guess not Nelson. Ryan Mueller, I guess they try to, when he was in the NFL, they try to switch him over to fullback a few times because he does have the hands. He's a bigger body, but kind of just dual threat kind of player.
Yeah.
But him at the defensive end position, being able to make a big play for the Guardians.
Phenomenal. How about that?
Get that Guardians D back. That's what I've been waiting for that.
They came back.
They did.
They came back aggressive.
That was fun to watch.
Yeah, I think you're right in that. Perez has a lot of credit for that.
Yeah.
Just kind of bringing back
energy
in the locker room.
Just seemed like as soon as he came in, especially what was that, week 3 when he played the last couple of plays, and it just all of a sudden stuff just working, and sometimes you just need that spark. You don't know where it comes from, but you just need it. Blast headline of the week that I want to talk about is
it's the big one,
the big ref call.
Yeah, the blunder.
The ref totally just absolutely what we pay to see in the XFL is these last second comebacks, and absolutely robbed the Dragons from able to do that too.
From a chance, yeah.
I mean, we talked about it, the Houston versus Seattle game. It's 32-23, right? It's a 9-point game, which is a 1-score game in the XFL according to the new rules. You get the 3-point line. We go for it. 9-point game tied up. It goes overtime, and we're actually maybe see a shootout, like that shootout type thing. We haven't seen that yet, which I really want to see. And so it's PJ Walker. He's going for the kneel, and it's 4th down. So 4th down, clock stops. Well, clock stops in general, but 4th down, it's over.
Yeah, and even without that rule, the tackle was made when there was a second left on the
clock.
He got both his hands on Walker when he was down, so the clock absolutely should have stopped.
Yeah, so he takes it back, and then Walker kneels, and there's apparently 2 seconds left on the clock. The Dragons should have gotten the ball back with one last attempt on there. What was it? They're in the red zone, right? They're on the 22-yard line. But the ref called the game, and the clock had gone. He said the clock gone to 0. That's the ball game. Robbing the Dragons of any type of last second Hail Mary. It wouldn't even be a Hail Mary play. It'd be a 22-yard pass.
Yeah, solid post route would have got him in.
Yeah.
But the thing is, for me, no question, the referees got it wrong, and as we saw, I mean, the XFL, this league has proven mistakes will cost you big time. So he ended up being suspended.
Yeah. Reassigned is what they called it. So I don't know what that means. He's going to.
I think that essentially means
Foot Locker.
He got dropped basically. But it's just so funny because and right when we saw each other yesterday, we talked about the XFL, and we talked about this week in that play and how the NFL is so polar in terms of the way that they treat referees through mistakes. Obviously, the big one was the NFC Championship game, missed defensive pass interference, would have set up the Saints for a Super Bowl run potentially. Ref missed the call, and he's still reffing today, and he's probably still a sideline judge, and it is what it is. But the NFL, I guess, is just far more
lenient, and like these are our guys. The whole like union, there's probably like a union behind it and everything too.
No doubt.
So, like these guys have rights and the whole like. But you think about it, players and coaches, they lose big games or they lose games off of stuff like that. People get fired for that type of stuff.
I know.
Like coaches get fired, players, get let go, they get cut.
And for a team like Seattle who's 1-4, I mean, they're getting to that potential where
that's like if they go in there and they somehow get away with a last second victory from the Roughnecks, that's huge for the organization. That's so you got to give them a chance, especially when it's within the rules of 2 seconds and the potential to, like we all want to watch, is this whole comeback period with the last 2 minutes and the fact that the 3-point extra point is available. We really want to see that. But this is a
statement.
The statement put out.
Before when you get that up, I'll just mention PJ Walker was absolutely foolish on that play. I don't know what he was thinking. Maybe it was just like they just didn't have enough time to communicate. But you hear the coach on the sideline saying, "PJ, just throw it to their bench," because then obviously you just heave it up, the clock would have ended.
Yeah.
And he just took a knee for some reason. I don't know what he was thinking.
Wait a sec. So they said this is the statement on Seattle game. With a 9-point differential in the score, Seattle was denied an opportunity to tie the game. The XFL sincerely regrets this error. In addition, Wes Booker, who served as the officiating supervisor for Sunday's game, has been reassigned. So they said reassigned. Don't know what that means.
It could mean
they canned him.
It could be anything. It really could.
Who
but
knows?
I think he probably just got cut. I don't know.
Get out of here.
Who knows? We'll figure it out eventually, I guess.